Man, this episode had me weak like Blueface sneeze in this clip right here. This episode starts off with a little bit of flashback between Henry and Sam. They're on the run and they have to escape, and they're ending up hiding out in an attic. This is just like the game, and they're really scarce for food and things like that. Is there any top ramen in the apocalypse? I just want to know, if do they have top ramen? But I guess you don't have any electricity to heat it, so that wouldn't work. So they were eating cans of food. His brother's starving, like, I'm hungry, but they can't really leave because a whole military zone is looking for Henry and Sam because of something that went down with Kathleen from the last episode, but we'll get into that. And then we fast forward a little bit, 10 days later, and Sam is looking at the gunfight between Joe and Ellie when they crash the truck, and they know where they're at. So that's when we pick it up. They find their position, and Henry needs Joe help to go to this underground tunnel so they can escape. And they said it's like it's infected down there, but then he ain't really know because he's not really a fighter like that, and he sees the potential of Joe. I ain't a killer, but don't push me. That's what I'm saying. That's what Joe is a killer. He know he can get the job done. It's necessary, and they can get him and his brother out safely. As we travel down this underground tunnel, they find a place like this school, like a preschool that was underground for the apocalypse. Maybe they got it all affected, but everybody's gone. But this is directly from the game as well. I gotta give a shout out to the set design again. The art department did a fantastic job. It's like seeing the game come to life, and that's just a wonderful thing. This actor here who plays Henry does a phenomenal job. Him and Joe are having a conversation, sitting down, and he tells them that, I never did anything bad or anything violent towards anybody in my life. The closest thing I did was pull the empty gun on you to, so you can listen to me so we can get to this spot. And Joe plays it off so good, He's stoic, he's quiet, and Henry can tell in him that, like, that's not your daughter, but I know you had a daughter one day, It was just a real deep conversation that I think really worked in this episode. Like, during the beginning of this episode, Sam, which is deaf, which I think was a brilliant play by the showrunners to make his character deaf, because he really has to depend on Henry to stay alive in this apocalypse, being deaf. It reminds me of that Jeffrey Dahmer episode. There's an episode in Dahmer on Netflix that the characters were deaf, and it turned out to be really tragic because he's already handicapped, and then when you push that extra layer that can turn to tragedy, makes it super sad. We get a good amount of character development between Sam and Ellie. Like I said, he's deaf, but it really works for their characters, and I believe it. And the characters between Joe and Henry, I think that chemistry really works. What didn't work for me, per se, is the character of Kathleen. I just think this is a bad casting choice, in my opinion. It looked like she should be like making Rice Krispie treats, I'm like, no offense to the actress, but her whole thing of being the lead of this apocalypse team, it just didn't work for me. Her brother got killed because Henry gave him up to the ops, son. She gave him up to the ops, and he ended up getting killed. So Kathleen's on a big revenge tale for that, but I just didn't give a shit, though. Like, her character did absolutely fucking nothing, in my opinion. But you had to have some type of bad militia. But is it me, or does her brother look like Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, son? He looks just like Rick Grimes. Great. Did they do that on purpose? So our group now is on the streets. It's all quiet. It's the middle of the night. Joe, Ellie, Sam, they're all walking. Then these shots start going off. Pow, pow, pow. They take cover immediately. It's a sniper up there. So Joe makes his way up to the sniper and just seeing this old ass man there, and he said, "Don't do it, son," and Joe pops him or whatever. But like, my question here is, why do they got this old ass man though on sniper lookout? No joke, this dude had to be at least 85 years old. Like, he can barely see or hear, so you gonna have him as the top sniper elite, son? After that, Kathleen comes in with the tanks. They just come in, wrecking shop, all that. One of the tanks catches on fire and explodes. Like, right here starts one of the greatest action set pieces thus far for the series. They spend a lot of money on this sequence. They end up, Kathleen ends up finding Sam and Henry. She wants her revenge thing, makes them come out. She's about to pop Henry, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? This is payback. It is what it is. They cut to the hole of the ground. It's kind of silent. Everyone's silent, like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And then they just pause. And then all of a sudden you just hear this loud noise. Boom! Hundreds of infecteds just crawling all over each other, wilding out, son. And they was wilding the fuck out. So I was like, damn, you know what this shit reminded me of? It reminded me of Game of Thrones when they were at the wall with Jon Snow and they were trying to break through the gate, just wilding like that all over each other. And then after they wilding out, they're just trying to spray them down, but like there's just too many of them. They're being overrun. And then you hear the big boss come, you know what I'm saying? Like the priest come out at night, a big ass bloater just shows his face like, and just started tossing. It's like, boom, boom, like body slapping, you know what I'm saying? Ultimate Warrior style. I was like, this shit is hype. And then I love this part too, because Joel's right there in the sniper, you know what I'm saying, sniper position. Just like the game, you gotta do this in the game sometimes to protect Ellie from the clickers and walkers. So I thought that was a great adaptation that they did from the game, you know what I'm saying, to this episode. So I thought that was dope because that's directly gameplay right there. They're keeping it real in this shit. Henry and Sam are pinned under the car. Joel's trying to pick them off, and then Ellie escapes to a small car. When you see this other clicker come in through the back seat with this dope contortioning ass shit, she like did a backflip, came back around, was clicking around like. Okay, at this point, Joel has knocked enough of them off so Henry and Sam and Ellie can escape, they can run. But then they run into Kathleen, you know, and Kathleen's like, no, I still need that revenge, son. And then all in the corner, Ellie sees that clicker, and then it immediately like kills Kathleen, and that whole regiment is gone now. My favorite part though, when the bloater took that Rick Grimes dude looking face and kind of just ripped it in half. So they're done, they escape. We cut back to them chilling in the hotel, you know what I'm saying? We get more character development between Ellie and Sam, and then Sam reveals to Ellie she doesn't want to be alone, and she shows him a bite. He was like, I'm scared of the monster inside of me, and she's like, oh no, son. Yeah, Sam is now infected, and Ellie knows that she's immune, so like, yeah, you can use my blood is medicine. She ends up cutting herself and putting it on the wound. I'm like, maybe this can work. Maybe we can have a happy ending here. Nope. The next morning, Ellie kind of wakes up and she sees Sam on the bed. She's like, oh, let me go talk to him. And then yes, he's a monster. He starts wilding out and attacking Ellie. Joel tries to go after Sam. He pops a shot. He looks at his brother one time, looks back at Joel, and immediately pops his brother in the head. It was so crazy that it happened this quickly. Usually in movies, they draw it out like, I don't want to do it. I can't, but I got to, you know what I'm saying? But no, it was just like quick. It was just like, pow. And he was like, what did I do? What did I do? He looks, bam, pops himself, son. So now they're both out of the game, and then they cut back to Ellie. Awesome job by Bellum Ramsey here, because that tear got me, son. That tear, I was like, God, dog, man. They was black, surviving in the apocalypse. His brother was deaf, had leukemia, and got bit, man. I just felt so bad for those two characters, you know what I'm saying? We didn't spend a whole lot of time with them. Actually, I thought you could cut some of Kathleen's shit out of this whole episode because it was just boring, and she just brought nothing to the show. This other revenge aspect, I see what they're doing, but like it just didn't work for me. I'm seeing a very familiar narrative play out within this whole show, and I think it's what about like the protectee and the protector. Just like, you know, at the beginning with Joe and Sarah, he was always protected. Joe's always trying to protect his brother. Bill and Frank, you know, Bill was the protector of Frank. He would do anything for him. Same here, Henry and Sam. Henry had to look out for his brother because he was deaf, you know, and it ended up tragic. And I think Ellie's colder here now, you know, because I think Joe seeing this at the end when they're burying their bodies, I think Joe can see this can be our fate as well. So at that point, it's deep. I really enjoyed this episode. I think it's the best action sequence throughout the whole series so far. Like that clicker episode was fucking super tense and scary. This one was just insane and big, and you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, okay, HBO, you bringing movie level quality to this shit now. Overall, a super solid episode, bro. If I had to score it, I'm gonna give it a 4.5, not quite a 5, because Kathleen is my only gripe in this episode. That character just didn't work. Maybe if somebody else played it or whatever, and the whole revenge plot, it made everything convoluted and a little messier, when I think it could have just stuck to Joe and Ellie and Henry and Sam, and we could have had that. You know, I think the militia could have been mindless. We didn't need that backstory. You know, between that, they could have just kept the story pushing forward. So that's why I take a half point off of this episode. But other than that, this episode was fire, bro. So what did y'all think of this episode? I thought it was a pretty goddamn good episode. You know what? I can't wait till next week. Like I think episode 4 was still the weakest, but like you can't have action sequences like you had in this episode throughout the entire series. I mean, like that's crazy. That's a sane amount of money that they put on screen in this episode. But I really enjoyed this episode. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode in the comments below. And if you like this video, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. And if you really like this content, consider subscribing to the Q Review family. And don't just stare at it, eat it. Peace, y'all.
I'm out cold, you hoes been exposed. Walk up on you slow with the flow and unload. You got more left for dead on the road. I strode when your car got